You know, there was one time that I was talking to a friend, and I was sharing my feelings about, the previous home that I had. It was a farm, and it was a lot more land than this one, bigger, wider, open space than this. And we had a farm experience for like a few years, like maybe about 5 years or so. And I loved it there, and I wanted to buy that farm, but the door would not open. The door, I just tugged and I tugged and I tugged, and the door would not open for that to happen. Till eventually I got to the point where I had to accept that it wasn't happening and it was time to go. I remember telling my friend, that one time when I had to, like, when the person that owned the farm had started to show the property to some other people, and we had to leave for a little bit so that she could do that. We went driving around, and I cried so hard. I cried so hard from the pits of my stomach. I never cried that hard in my life. There was a very few times that I cried that hard, and I cried so hard it hurt. And I was pissed at this at God, and I was like, how could any loving father, God as I was taught that God is, how could any loving father like allow their children to feel this amount of pain? And I felt that pain more than once. I felt that same kind of pain when I lost my child, and I had to go through a whole freaking pregnancy only to end up with no child and leave the hospital. As people were leaving the hospital with their children, I was leaving the hospital with pain and loss and grief. And again, they asked the same question: how could a loving God, as I've been taught that this God is, allow their children to go through this kind of pain? I would never. There's no way in hell I would allow my children to go through this kind of pain. But when I was talking to my friend and I was expressing my feelings, this gem, I call them gems, these little bits of wisdom, and I'm, where the fuck did that come from? I said, home. I said I realized that home isn't a place outside of myself. Home is with me all the time. And I said that I realized that my home can never be taken from me, even though this landlord lady was taking my home, the physical space that we lived, and we raised our children for a good few years, and we enjoyed, and it was beautiful, and had this wonderful pond. We wanted to call the farm Faith Ponds Farm, ponds with an S, because there were more than one pond. Oh my God, that place was so beautiful. But my gem is home. My real home cannot be taken from me, because this is where my real home is. This is my home. Here, this is my home. And nobody could take that home from me. The only way that anybody can have this home is if I surrender it